Okay, let's try the animation part of our process. This is step 5. First of all, Photoshop is not really created for animating, but the capability is there because if you're designing web pages or using Image Ready, Adobe products let you use them interchangeably, and you can create animations that are used for rollovers and web pages and whatnot. I'm going to keep this really simple and show you first of all where to find the animation tools. Just like the rest of your palettes, the animation palette is located under the window menu. And when I open animation, it's going to give me a timeline view. You may see something a little bit differently, but what we're ultimately wanting to use is the frame view. We're going to use animation frames to create our animated files. So I'm going to move this down a little bit, and I'm going to adjust my workspace so everything fits properly and I can see everything in its entirety. Okay, let's begin with the basic concept of animating is that each frame is going to include a change, and then when viewed all together, it's going to look like things are moving. That's a basic, kind of like using a flip book where each page has a different picture on it. What we want to do is animate the butterfly that I have included in my picture here. I've got it kind of sticking up off of the page, and I have I actually brought in a butterfly and cut the butterfly in half using the cut tools in the layers menu. And I'll demonstrate real quick how we did that. Let me zoom in. With the butterfly, I used a polygon lasso. That's this one, to select just one wing. And I chose the bottom one because when a butterfly flies, it doesn't really fly with the wings going downward. It flies with the wings going upward. So I chose the down one so that I can take that away from time to time to make it look as if the butterfly has lifted the wing and it's behind the upper one. So I selected that, and you have to be in your butterfly layer when you're doing this, so you want to make sure. Mine's not accurate because I've already done this, but if you're in the butterfly layer, we'll say that's butterfly, you're going to go to Layer, New, Cut, and that's going to make a second layer. Now the second layer I named Butterfly Lower because I wanted to be able to tell which wing I was working with as I did this animation. Now I have a lot of different layers here, so I hope I'm not confusing you by showing you all of this. My original butterfly are butterfly upper, butterfly lower. I'm going to put those together so that you can see this a little bit easier. Let me rename these so they're not confusing you. Okay. Something else you're going to want to do. I already did this wrong. Okay. We want to link the butterfly upper and the butterfly lower wings so that when you move your butterfly, and that's going to be this one, I guess, but I'm really confusing things here. When you move the butterfly, they're going to move together. Now, my butterfly upper and my butterfly lower, which I renamed oddly, are connected. And the way I did that is I selected one layer and I control and clicked on the other layer. That selects both of them. And then in my layers palette, which we can't see real well, let me bring that up a bit. There we go. There is a link, a little chain link thing down at the bottom that you're going to click on to link them. So if you move one, the other moves with it. So that's, dividing the butterfly in half. So what we're going to do next is move the butterfly so that we can start our animation with the butterfly off the screen. The first thing we want to do is duplicate the current frame that we are seeing in our window. And to do that, I'm going to click on the tool down here that says Duplicate Selected Frames. And that's going to add a second animation frame that includes the bunny. And the butterfly is in the same exact spot. You can tell if you click on them, there's no difference. But what I want to do in this frame is move the butterfly. I'm going to move it out a little bit so you can see the difference between frame 1 and frame 2. Frame 1, I can see a portion of the butterfly. I can see the bottom wing. And in frame 2, I can see the whole butterfly. But I don't want to see the bottom wing because I saw that in the previous one. So I'm going to turn off the visibility of the lower layer. There we go. Okay. I'm going to add another frame. This one, I'm going to move in toward the middle of the picture a little more, and I'm going to turn the lower wing back on. I'm going to continue to do this, alternating the visibility of the lower wing. So if we just scroll through the frames that we've made so far, you can see how it kind of looks like my butterfly is flying across the screen. Now, what I did in my class example is I had the butterfly fly toward the rabbit and then land on the rabbit's nose. So I'm going to try that here. I want it to be in the right place here. Let's see what we've got. I've got the wings open, wings closed. I probably moved that a little quickly, but we get the idea. Actually, no, I'll move it out a little bit more and we'll have them land on the nose in a moment. Next frame. It's kind of important that you are spacing things accurately because your picture is, or your resulting animation, you want it to look realistic, not too far-fetched. So now the butterfly is on the rabbit's nose. In the next frame, I'm going to keep it there and just open the wings. In the next frame, I'm going to keep it there and close the wings. And in the next frame, I will open again. The following frame is where the butterfly is going to take off and start flying away. And I do want to turn off the lower wing and start alternating that as the butterfly continues to fly. I don't remember what I did here. And you want your butterfly to go off the screen or out of the picture. Maybe that's a little bit too much. Okay, so what you're going to notice right now, before I play all this, and I can click through them and take a look at what the process looks like just by clicking on individual frames. What I want to do is adjust my time. Right now, each of these frames would be playing for 10 seconds, and that's ridiculous. We don't need to do that. So I'm going to select all of my frames, and I'm going to use the animation palette menu to do that. And then I'm going to click down here where it says 10 seconds and change that to about 2/10 of a second. I think that'll be more than enough time. And when I click on my play button, I'm going to see a consolidation of all my work there in a nicely animated picture. What we do want to do, when the butterfly lands on the bunny's nose, I want to slow that down a bit because when the butterfly is not flying, it's not flapping the wings quite so quickly. So I'm going to change that to maybe a half a second, and then maybe a full second, and another full second, and a half a second. And then when it starts flying again, it'll be going quickly. So let's play that from the beginning. Kind of calms the whole thing down a little bit. And we've got a nice little animation. Now something else that I added during class was maybe having the rabbit turn around and watch the butterfly fly away. To do that, we need to start off by selecting the rabbit layer and creating a second version of it. I'm going to duplicate. I just right-clicked on the rabbit layer and I selected duplicate. I'm going to name this actually rabbit facing left, even though it's not yet. and I'm going to transform it. If I were to transform the rabbit now, it would change my entire animation because transforming a layer does not happen one frame at a time. It affects the whole layer that you would be using throughout all of your frames. So I'm going to transform my second bunny, edit, transform, and I'm going to flip it horizontally so that it is facing left. Go over a little bit so the ears are in about the right place, so the bunny's not moving too much as it turns around. And then I'm going to turn that one off for now because in my first frame, I don't really need to see the bunny. Oh shoot, messed that up. Okay. And whatever happens in the first frame is kind of happening through the whole rest of the animation. So you don't want to switch the visibility of the bunny or the direction of the bunny until the butterfly takes off. And that's in animation frame number 12. So at that point, I'm going to switch which rabbit is visible. And then for each frame that follows, I'm going to do the same. I'm going to turn on the rabbit that's facing left and turn off the original rabbit. So if I play this through, there we go. Now when you're done animating, if you want to create a looping animation, you would change this area where it says once to forever. And then as you play your animation, it will start over again as soon as it ends. And that's a great way to animate because if you put something on the internet, people might not be able to see the animation until it's all done. So what we're going to do when this is finished, I'm going to stop that, is we are going to save it so that it's web ready. Saving for web and devices. To save an animation, you have to use a GIF file or GIF. And I'm just zooming out by hitting the magnifying and holding down the Alt key. If you save with a GIF format, you do want diffusion. Without the diffusion, you're going to get bands of color instead of letting the color kind of scatter and blend. And we want to use as many colors as we can for this one because we need that. You're going to save this as your Easter animation. I'm going to call it animation 2 because this is not the first one I've made. And when that is done, you can actually go to your animation and if you right click and select open with Internet Explorer, you're going to be able to view it as you would on the web as just an animation. You won't see the Photoshop files at all. This is a different one that I had made with the same basic concept. The important thing about making your animation is that you're very attentive or you have a plan for what you want to do and you're very closely paying attention to making sure everything is done one frame at a time because if you have to go back and change something previous, it's going to affect all of the frames afterwards. I hope that's not too confusing. I learned most of this just playing with the animation tools in Photoshop, so I would advise that you do the same. And if you need more help, you can go back to previous sites that were made or that you found in the link that was provided on Edline. That's all. Have a great day.